everybody, welcome back to Goodale Farm. I'm Peter. A quick video today. Had some utility tree work done in the neighborhood, and as I did my walk this morning, saw some interesting things, so I figured I'll share it with you. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so in my previous videos I had highlighted a big pine tree. I think it was the video with either the power lines or pine trees, but we're going to take a look at this guy right here. He met the fate of the tree trimmers, so let's take a look, see what we got. All right, pretty interesting. So a couple things to highlight. I actually went and I counted the rings on this tree, and it's somewhere around 100. So, you know, for each of these rings represents a year, so you figure this guy was a good 100 years old. Another thing to notice is, you know, this is a white pine, but I think most trees grow the same way. If you look at the early years, look at the distance between one ring to the other. It's, you know, has a certain width to it, but as the tree gets older, the growth is smaller and smaller and smaller. I guess one could say, you know, it is increasing in circumference, so net it might be the same, but you can see from one year to the next, especially as it gets older. So at this point it's probably, you know, the 50-year mark, but you go way up here, it's barely growing from one year to the next. Here you can see pretty distinctly the different parts of a tree. You know, you have the outer bark, which is obvious, okay, but you see the little band there? It's routinely, I think, called the inner bark, okay? Then there's usually a layer which is where it's actually living. So, you know, like a living cell layer. There's another part called cambium. And then heartwood is normally in the center, which is, you know, the old wood. I don't know if it's dead, but it's not producing sap. You know, you can see here where the living part of the tree is. It's on the outside, and that's where the sap was running. And it's normally, it's not the bark. I mean, leaves or needles may, you know, generate some, you know, bring in the energy into the tree itself. But you can see here distinctly, all the living parts, the growing parts of a tree are on the outside. And that's what is creating a new ring each year. So we bid farewell to this old soul of a tree. 100 years. You know, you just think, you know, what that was experiencing through those years. But, and as I said in the other video, you know, you need to do this, unfortunately, with trees, because you have the power lines, and you know, that tree falls down, takes out a pole along with some power lines. Unfortunately, the cost of having to deal with that is far more greater than, unfortunately, the cost of this tree. The good news is there's acres and acres, hundreds of acres of trees out there. But it's always just kind of sad to see an old timer go down like that. There are a bunch of oak trees that we're taking down. This one, roughly 75, 80 years old. Obviously you can't tell on the video, but something about the smell of oak wood, especially freshly cut oak, kind of brings back different memories and thoughts. It's just a refreshing scent. Now here's a good example of why it's good to cut these trees down, because you could see this one was rotting from the inside out, and very frequently that's carpenter ants, other type of wood-boring insects. They eat that wood. They work their way to that layer where the sap and, you know, the nutrients are, and you wouldn't know it from the outside that this tree is compromised and can fall. But the arborists out there know what they're looking for. They'll see dead branches. They'll see you know, parts of the tree, like, you know, here's a good example here. This old branch, you know, crotch area there, that's just generating rot on that tree. So they look for these type of conditions and know what's a risk and remove it. Now, I don't burn firewood. I used to many years ago. Use gas now. but if you're a wood burning family, you have a wood stove, wood chimney, this time of year is like a field day, because a lot of the utility companies are going out cutting down wood. And back when I was burning, I would love small pieces like this, because you cut that in fireplace size, you could throw it in as is, no other splitting needed. So nowadays these tree cutting crews have these big machines. This is a Sennebogen material handler. It works on hydraulics. That working end there grabs the tree. So there's a grapple that grabs hold of the tree, and then there's an attachment that has a saw blade, and that attachment, while the grapple is holding the tree, actually cuts the tree. And you're able to actually, with the hydraulic arm here, lift the tree up in one piece and put it into either a chipper or a log truck. So very sophisticated nowadays. I mean, this type of truck or piece of equipment's in the $100,000 range, probably, depending on what you have for attachments and the age and hours on it. It could be more or less, but you know, $100,000 piece of equipment here doing a job that maybe you're bidding. I don't know what this job is. But you know, you have to factor that in. You can do a lot more with a piece of equipment like this than you can do with a crew. I mean, this is probably, you know, a one-person crew working the truck, and then you have a couple ground crew. Otherwise, you have to be climbing trees, using a bucket truck. So anyway, wanted to show this here. Now normally when you have big logs, you can take them to a mill, and the mill will give you so much money for a board foot. But on a job like this, we're within a community near a street, and when you have trees that are near people, you have a situation like that. That's called a blue stain, and it's blue because there's some type of iron in that log. It could be a bullet, you know, a stray bullet that hit the tree. It could be a piece of barbed wire. It could be an old fence or a nail. Generally, mills do not. Honestly, a mill will not take that, because it's going to screw up the saw when it goes through the mill process. You know, even if you had a backyard homesteader that had their own sawmill, they would be reluctant to cut this also, because in these more, you know, residential sawmills, you know, the blade on one of those homeowner use mills is about $150, $200 for that blade. And you know, when you run into a bullet or a nail, you have to replace that blade. It just may not worth it. So oftentimes they look for things like that. They may run a magnet, a sound magnet across the wood, because it may not be readily apparent, so it will make a noise, much like at airport security if it detects metal. It's really good to see that some of the high risk trees were taken out. I mean, some of these were so old and they were just waiting for the next wind to fall. It was quite dangerous. I'd be curious if anybody watching has any insight how these municipal jobs get bid and how they factor in. Because when I take a look at a pile like this, now let me take a step back a little bit. There's probably 3 or 4 pretty big trees here. If this was on my residential property and I had a tree company come to give me a bid on this job, my guess this is $3,000, $4,000. I mean, obviously they got to be a little bit more delicate on a residential piece of property, but in my walk today, there's, I don't know, 10, 15 of these type of piles, you know. So, and that's only half of the job. I'm sure there's a lot more. So I'm kind of curious, when a tree company bids on a job, do they have a flat rate for the whole job? You know, $100,000 will take care of these 5 streets. Or is it tree by tree? Is it a separate fee if they leave big pieces like this. Like, you know, here we're looking at the state forest land. So it's a state property, and maybe the state's fine leaving the stuff here. When they took out trees on residential properties, they took away the wood. Here, they'll probably take this stuff away too, but they probably will leave some. So I'm kind of curious some of the aspects of it. If you know, send me a comment. Thanks. Okay, everybody. Hey, that's the video for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hey, it's been a while since I mentioned about subscriptions and hitting the like button. And want to let you know, I think I'm just shy of 40 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed and you're watching this and you enjoy, please subscribe. Or if you are a subscriber, hit the like button. I'm trying to generate some more activity. I mean, I got a ways to go if this is ever going to be a productive venture for me. I still do it just for the fun of it. I hope you enjoy it as well. So, you know, feel free to share with friends, family, strangers. Next time you're in the supermarket talking to the deli guy, let him know about my channel here, Goodale Farm. And I hope to see him out there. All right. Have a great day. Bye.